All right, so this is my what's called a filbert brush design. I've got some little flares going out, right? Maybe even kind of hooking out like that. In general, it's taking up this shape. And what does a filbert brush actually look like? The tip of it looks like this. It's kind of chiseled but flat, and from the side it looks like this. This is a good kind of next stage brush to use. A flat brush looks like this, and from the side looks like this, and then a round brush looks like this from all sides. It's basic brush types. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off my little oval, right? Because you really just want this on one layer. Remember, you can paint with black or white. It's very binary and at 100% opacity. And we're within a 1000 by 1000 pixel space. Then I go to Edit and I say Define Brush Preset. And you can actually do this within Photopea as well. And there, just like it's like an FBI crime lab, it shows me the little fingerprint of the brush, gives the name that I gave this file, and how many pixels is it? 931, under 1,000, right? So I say, okay. Now, make a new layer, and you can paint with that brush. So if you just stamp with it, here, since I was using white last, that's what it gives me. Actually, let me fill it all up with white. If I just stamp with it, it will just stamp the brush. But if I paint with it, it will very quickly cover everything. Right? So what do I need to do? I need to modify its size. Now I'll change it to white. And if I paint with it, it looks pretty boring. Yes, it's a little textured. But this is not about the brush design, which is nice in that. It's about the brush settings. So brush settings you'll find under Window. And you'll see that it's a little tool that's been there the whole time in your sidebar. And the most important brush settings are the shape dynamics. So we start there. And the control of the shape dynamics you want to be based on pin pressure. This allows you to go thick to thin. Okay. The next most important is size jitter, which means it's not always going to be the exact same size no matter your pressure, so it won't look so perfectly even. The next, and to me this is the most important, is the angle jitter. So notice the preview of the brush here. It's going thin to thick. It's changing its size a little bit, right? Not super evenly, but when I change angle jitter, it makes it so I get a lot more rotation to the mark. And it becomes a much more interesting mark. Then we have what's called roundness. And roundness is going to tighten it up to the core. So that's even a little bit fuzzier at the edges. And the only pressure you worry about is the controlling for the pin pressure. We have basic tablets. We don't have tilt and twirl on our tablets, so we're just going to use the pressure sensitivity. And then the next thing I like to use is the texture. And on the texture setting, I went to all the effort to really opening up this brush. So I want to bring in not just a blank texture, but a water texture. And I want to play with the depth of it and the depth jitter. And what you're trying to do is open it up. There we go. So I got to take the depth down. I want to open it up so I can see a little bit of that brush stroke in there. So even when I'm using it at full opacity, now it's going to have to be built up by layering. So those are the brush settings. You can take a photo of them or a little screen grab of them. So the ones I like, smoothing is turned on by default. You can just leave it on. But the ones I like are shape dynamics and texture. So I already screen grabbed the texture, so let me screen grab the shape dynamics. Now the brush is now permanently in your Photoshop as soon as you save a file with it. But the settings will not be saved if you change brushes. So right now I've got the brush set with the settings. Now I'm going to save my work, Command S. And I can see that I'm using this brush. If I ever want to use it, I go to the very bottom of my brush options here. And you'll see that's the one I just did. But if I change brushes, then I will have to change the brush settings again when I go back to this brush. Now you can play with brush settings on any brush. Now size is not a brush setting. And on custom brushes, you don't get to play with the softness of the brush. So if I go to my brush and I go to the size, I'm going to make it a bigger brush now, and you see how hardness isn't an option because the hardness is kind of built into my brush. So softness I control with texture and with the shape dynamics. Okay, now I've got a good custom brush to use. So now with my custom brush layer, I am going to work at a lower opacity. I'm going to work at about 70%. And now I'm going to actually try to do what these second steps are. Like paint it in with some texture. So, where should I start? Maybe with the forehead. Get a lot of interesting color and form in the forehead. So I hold down Option. And remember, I'm only doing it at 70%. I'm going to get some bright colors there. Get that red in. Few places. I like to just stay on the brush tool the entire time and just let my left hand, because I'm right-handed, hover over the Option key. And I like to steal my color from various references and from myself. But now whenever I steal a color, it's going to blend with the colors around it, behind it, because I'm only at 70% opacity. Throw some greens in there. Whoops. I can't select my color from there. I have to stay in Photoshop. You can only select your color from what's open in Photoshop. But I'm using this to kind of see everything a little bit more clearly. And even when I paint with black, if I steal the color from myself again, it won't be black anymore. It will be a black mixed with the colors from the base layer. So maybe it'd be easiest to show you just with the blue shirt, right? So digital painting is covering up the line art, right? So I might start with that. And then you can see how everything's getting defined. By how I cover it and how I paint it. Just like using acrylic paint on top of a pencil sketch. And the more I layer it, the more opaque it will get. And basically now I'm just trying to erase my sketch and fill it in with colored tones. The whites of the eye are not really white. You'll see that from but you could emphasize them a little bit, right? But you'll see that when you steal the color, you're not going to get to perfect whites or perfect blacks. And notice at this stage, I am not zooming in. I'm still trying to treat the whole thing at once. I'm still trying to mostly just get coverage. And I like to use some pretty out there colors. Where's that green? There we go. Now, digital painting, I've said it before, is a very simple technique, but it's intimidating just because it's all on you. There's not a lot of technical steps. You just basically stay on one tool. You pick colors and you put the paint down. How you layer it is up to you, but these are the layers I recommend and want to see evidence of. Some sort of base paint layer that's at 100%. And then this is what the custom brush layer is looking like. You see how it looks more like crayon or pastel? If I zoom in on it, it has a lot more interest to it than the layers underneath. Right? And once I build it, then I might decide, oh, I don't want the sketch layer at all. I just want the base color. Right? And then you can see how they relate. So there's a lot of ways to work with this. But the only layer I have unlocked is my custom brush layer. I like getting some of the blue in the hair. That's nice. Some of this boxy structure I think is nice to the hair. And he's got these big eyebrows. Not quite as big as the AI makes them, but put some color into them. And it's okay while you're painting. Everyone has their own kind of way of painting to like overstate and then work things back. Like the bottom of the nose, the nostril. The custom brush will always be a little bit softer than the hard round that we started with. But I can kind of find my shape for the nose that way and then paint over it with these lower opacity. So 70% is still pretty opaque, so it covers pretty well, but it allows the background color choices to still come through. That's why I like it. If you don't feel like you have enough variety of color, then you want to bring in some other references to steal from. And you can always use this as well. You know, the color selector. But, you know, I like to source color from actual files. So if I want blue, instead of finding in that color selector, I find it from my inspirations. But sometimes getting a really, like that hot pink, that gives me something that then I can mix into the existing colors. I need it. He has this very kind of chiseled jaw, so I want to try to reference that. And I chose him because not only is he an interesting historical painter, one of the neo-Dadaists from Texas, but also he's just got a lot of interesting structure in his face. Some of the least interesting portraits to do are like pretty people with flawless faces. So there's just a lot that I can react to